Last week I shared a video about alternatives to making a temperature blanket for a year-long project, and it inspired me to go for it again this year too. But instead of making a mood blanket, this year I'm going to make an affirmations blanket using super simple flowers. When I mentioned this on my community page, several of you showed interest, so today I'm going to be sharing how to make the flower and how to use a join-as-you-go method to easily join your blanket together every single day. So as far as the theme of the blanket, I'm going to be using a variety of colors that I just like the look of together. And for the affirmation part, I'm using this lovely oracle deck that I've had for a number of years that always has an uplifting message to help keep me positive. I may not use that every single day, but that's the plan right now, especially because I love the illustrations in it and it will help me to choose my colors as well. And along with that, of course, I will be documenting it in my journal. It gives me a great reason to use this beautiful one that my daughter got for me back a couple of Christmases ago. I started using it with the mood blanket, and I still have plenty of room to fill it with another project. I'm going to use the same layout that I used for my mood blanket. Before I used 2-inch squares, and I did 18 across, 20 high. My flowers here are approximately the same size, so I think that's going to work out just fine for that. Now, based on that, it isn't going to make a huge blanket. Mine is going to be roughly 36 by 40 inches based on my yarn and hook size. Which leads me to a really important tip. To make these flowers, we're going to be working 5 double crochets into the same stitch to make our petals. And because of that, it is going to make your flower get kind of wavy. However, if you're finding that it's just causing too many issues for you, then I would recommend that you switch to 3 double crochets instead. If you do decide to go down to 3 double crochets, then I would recommend that you go up an extra hook size. Otherwise, your flower is going to shrink quite a bit. To begin, we're going to start our center with 12 single crochets. You can either start with a magic ring and add your 12 singles into it, or do a chain 5 with a slip stitch. I'm going to do a chain 5 with a slip stitch, and that's because it does help the petals to stay more flat with that open center. So add a slip knot to your hook, chain 5, slip stitch into the very first chain to form your ring. And what I recommend you do is carry your tail as you make your single crochets. That way you don't have to weave in that end, and it also really helps to tighten that center if it gets a little bit wonky. So working into your ring, 12 single crochets. You can do a chain 1 if you want for that extra wiggle room, but remember that does not count as a stitch. But I'm going to go straight into doing single crochets. Working around that tail as I go. Instead of doing a slip stitch to complete the round, I'm going to go straight into round 2 with a single crochet in that very first stitch. And this is where the sequence begins. We're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, 5 doubles in the following stitch. And you're just going to continue this all the way around. Now, because we're using so many stitches, it's very easy for your next stitch to get hidden between or behind those stitches. Just pull things around so you can make sure and catch it. It is really, really easy to lose stitches that way. And it's going to be very frustrating for you, so always double check that. Now we're close to the end. We have one more petal to do. Yes, you can fit one more petal in there, right there, before that first single crochet that you made. You want to have 6 petals in total. And then to complete the round, you're going to add a slip stitch into that very first single crochet that you made. Right there. Remember, I carried that tail. I didn't clip it because at this point, if I want, I can kind of tighten that center if it got out of proportion. Weave it in or snip it, whichever you prefer, because it is in there nicely tucked. Or you can take the two ends double knot them and then tuck that into your stitches. So a number of ways that you can handle that. But it will be a little bit wavy. It all does flatten down as it gets joined together, but if you're really struggling with it, again, change it to 3 double crochets for your petals, but do go up a hook size if you want it to be the same size as this. There are a number of different ways that you could join your flowers together. This is the layout that I'm going to be teaching today and the one that I'm using for my project. In my opinion, this is probably the easiest way to join your flowers together. The sequence is very easy to memorize. Plus, when you're finished, you automatically have a really nice cohesive edging to it. Now, the only drawback to this way is you have these gaps here, but you will find once you start joining it together, it gets a little bit tighter. It doesn't look as big as this when it's joined, but I do have an option where you can add a filler motif that I'll be showing how to do at the end of the video. So here's the layout for joining our petals. I want you to pay attention to the points of your petals. So if you notice, you could have 3 with 1 pointing upward, or you could have it to where you have 2 of them facing upwards. Notice here how all of these have 1 pointing up. Now you can join these in any order that you like best, but because I'm using this as a daily record of my year, I want to work in rows, and that's how I'm going to teach it today. So with that in mind, this is how to join row 1. So with 1 petal pointing upwards, you notice that we have 2 on the sides that we'll be joining. So we've made our first petal, and now I'm going to join the next one. So I've already done round 1 and I'm getting ready to start round 2. And what I like to do is get the joining out of the way immediately. Otherwise, I always forget about it as I'm working. So I'm adding my single crochet into the very first stitch. And I know that I am going to be joining to 2 petals. With the 5 double crochets, we're going to be joining with the 3rd double crochets. So after you've completed your 3rd double, that's when you're going to join. Now, if you decided to do the 3 double crochets, then you will join after your 2nd double crochet. Your goal either way is to join in the middle stitch of your group. So I'm working with 5 petals, so I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So pick a petal, find the middle of the flower you're joining to, 1, 2, 3, and you have 2 options for joining. You can either, with the yarn still on your hook, go into that stitch, pull the yarn through, you've created a slip stitch, and continue on with your next double crochet. And it will look like this. Or instead you can do this, which is easier, is release the hook from the yarn, 1, 2, 3, grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch and then create your double crochet. Now you'll think that basically you're doing the same thing, but surprisingly it does give a different look. Doing it this way gives more of a braid effect. This is the way that I'm going to be teaching today. 1, because it's easy to do and will come in really handy later if you decide to do a filler, but I also really like the look of it. I would say the other way is faster because you're not releasing the hook from the yarn, but like I said, this is really attractive, so I do recommend this way. and that is one petal joined. Single crochet in the next stitch. And remember, we're joining 2 petals for row 1. So we're starting half of our flower or petal. Releasing from the hook. 1, 2, 3. And complete the petal. 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. And now just continue on as normal, single crochet in the next stitch, and complete the rest of your flower. And that's all you're going to do all the way across for your very first row. For me, I'm doing 18 flowers across, so I'll just repeat that same sequence. I'll go the next day, make a flower where I'm joining 2 petals together all the way across for 18 days. Now for row 2, the first flower is going to be slightly different from the rest of the row, and you can begin whichever side you like. I think I'm going to go row 1, go up, row 2, go up, row 3, but you can absolutely start at the very beginning if you like. All we're doing for that very first flower on row 2 is joining 1 petal. So I've already done round 1 just like before, and I'm going to join as soon as possible because I know otherwise I will forget. So I'm starting with my first single crochet in that very first stitch. Remember, I'm only joining 1 to the top. I'm going to make 3 doubles. Two more to complete the petal. Single crochet in the next stitch. And now all I need to do is complete that flower as normal, and that first flower for the second row is done. So remember, we're joining 1 and 2. So single crochet in the first stitch, 3 doubles in the next stitch. And I'm going to start with the 1. Then that way I can work counterclockwise. Two more in the same stitch to complete the petal. Single crochet in the next stitch. And now I'm joining these next 2 petals. Single crochet in the next stitch, working on that next petal. Three doubles to match these 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. Pull the yarn through. 2 more doubles to complete the petal, all in that same stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, and so on. Complete the flower as normal, no more joining. And that's all you need to do for the rest of your project. Repeat row 2. You'll have 1 single join for that very first flower for your next row, and then 3 joins, 1 at the bottom and 2 on the sides. So just to help you visualize that, let's just pretend that I worked row 1. Here I started row 2 with 1 join. Now I'm going to go all the way across with 3 joins. Just finish that one. I would make my next flower or the start of it, join with 1, 2, 3. Another flower, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then when you're ready for your next row, you come in with your next flower, making sure the points are upwards, making 1 join, and then 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Once you start joining these together, you'll notice that your gap isn't that big, but if you do want to fill it, you certainly can. Essentially, all this is the first round of 12 single crochets joined at 4 points. Here, 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 and here. And I'm not really fussy about where. I'm just going to join where it looks nice. So it kind of forms a square. Just like normal, add a slip knot to your hook, chain 5, slip stitch into the very first chain there, make your first single crochet, and we're going to immediately join in one of the chosen corners. So this is where releasing the hook from the yarn comes in really handy. Otherwise it can be super fiddly. But notice here I just picked kind of the center of that petal, pulling the yarn through. And now we're going to work the next 2 singles just as normal. So we've done 3 singles so far, and now we're going to do another slip stitch on the 4th one. So to help you visualize this, we're going to add a join at number 1, 4, 7, and 10. 1, 4, 7, and 10. So we did a join at the first one. We've done 3 singles so far. We're at single crochet number 4. And so we're going to join it to the next petal. Okay, and now we're going to join again at number 7. So we just did 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're going to join again. Find a place that you like. Now here we're getting a little fiddly. Just fold everything away so you're just focused on your ring. So now we've done 7 so far. Now we're going to do 8, 9, 10. We're at the join time. And now we have 2 more to go. We just did number 10, so now we have 11 and 12. Now you can slip stitch to complete that round, or you can do what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do an invisible seam or an invisible join. I'm snipping the yarn. Let me move that tail out of the way. Grabbing a tapestry needle. You can use your crochet hook for this as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and replicate a stitch. I'm going to go right in here where I did that first join. And then back over to the back loop only of the last stitch I made. And see how it makes the look of another top of a stitch. And then I can go behind, taking that tail and just tightening it a little bit, the one that I carried, to help that center regain its shape. And I'm going to tie those together. And this is just personal preference. You don't have to do this. But then I'm going to take those ends and weave them in. I've really fallen in love with that, and initially I wasn't going to add a filler motif to mine, but looking at this I just might. So I think I'm going to work on mine for a little while and see how it's looking before I decide on that. But that is definitely a great option if you don't want to have a gap. So let me know in the comments what you're going to be using your flowers for. Are you making a gratitude or affirmations blanket, or are you going to work on a temperature or scrap blanket? I would love to know what your thoughts are and what your plans are. If you missed the video where I talked about alternatives to the temperature blanket, I'll go ahead and link it here, as well as the mood blanket that I did for my last year-long project. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.